I'd like to welcome a number of people who are here tonight. I apologize if I miss anybody. This is quite an extensive list. I'd like to thank the PCMS students, parents, and staff who came here. First and foremost, it's about Miriam and it's about our students, and I'm so happy that we're able to celebrate it with some parents and students here. Second, I'd like to thank Charlotte Craig, a longtime Plainfield resident who brought Miriam Eaton's story to the attention of the Witness Stones Project. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming all the way out here to join us tonight. I'd like to thank or welcome the Plainfield Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Paul Brenton, members of the Board of Education, the administration team who were able to come out and support us tonight. Very appreciative. Matt and Natasha, and Colin Delaney, the vice principal at the middle school. I'd like to thank members of the Plainfield Board of Education who funded this project, at least in part. I'd like to thank the selectmen of the town of Plainfield who are here tonight. I'd like to thank Dennis Cullinan and Liz Lightfoot and our friends from the Witness Stone Project, and Luis Bruinouge and the Last Green Valley who helped fund this project as well. So thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. I'd like to thank the members of the Plainfield Historical Society, the VFW, and the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Plainfield Cemetery Association, the Plainfield Grave Guardians Association, and thanks to all our distinguished guests and community members. We'd like to, as you can see, we'd like to thank Bill and Melissa Rood, our musicians who are helping us out tonight. Thank you guys. And thank you all, the rest of the townspeople who come and support great programs like this in our great town of Plainfield. Plainfield is a historic town with a deep and rich past. Our school was fortunate to be approached by the Witness Stone Project, and our students and staff, and now you, have embraced our shared story. Tonight you'll learn a little bit more about Miriam Eaton and the projects our students and staff have undertaken. I'd like now to introduce Mr. Paul Brenton, Superintendent of Plainfield Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. St. Jean. It's louder than I expected. Guests, fellow citizens of Plainfield, and also I'd like to acknowledge the honored ancestors around us, whose stories we've gathered to reclaim today. I'm proud to be here as the Superintendent of Plainfield Public Schools, recognizing the outstanding work done by Plainfield community members, staff, and students in reclaiming a story. Education at its foundation is fundamentally about storytelling. It's a process of sharing our knowledges, our experiences, and narratives that help shape an understanding of the world around us. Just as stories captivate us and convey lessons, education tries to weave together different stories, different threads of information to create a tapestry for students, a tapestry of learning. Every subject or discipline has its own story to tell. In history, we learn about civilizations, their rise and fall. We learn about the experiences and the narratives of individuals around us, from Miriam Eaton to the Freeman brothers, buried just on the far side of the cemetery. In literature, we immerse ourselves in the stories crafted by authors. We explore the depths of human emotion, conflict, and perspective through characters and their plots. If you did not know, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. So I would be remiss if I did not give appreciation to our teachers and thank all of the people here today, both teachers and retired teachers, who have done so much to help the children in Plainfield. Good teachers are good storytellers. My favorite teachers were outstanding storytellers. They had the ability to make abstract concepts come alive. They had the ability to use personal anecdotes, examples, analogies to connect with me. It might surprise you to learn that I was not the most attentive student for a short time, approximately 12 years of my education. And by tapping into the power of storytelling, educators were able to capture my imagination and ignite a passion for learning in me, which has led me to be here today. In essence, education is not just about the transfer of information, but the art of crafting and sharing stories that inspire, enlighten, and empower students to want to explore, to want to grow, to want to question, and to want to find answers that they do not know. And by embracing the power of storytelling, education becomes transformative. It transcends the mere acquisition of facts, and it fosters a deeper appreciation for the richness and complexity of the community in which we live. We're here today to honor this afternoon the lost stories and histories of individuals that have not previously been told. And I think that's important to note. Schools like Plainfield Central Middle School and all the schools in Plainfield play a crucial role in preserving and transmitting the cultural memory of our community from one generation to the next. The historical memories that are taught in our schools aim to instill a sense of cultural continuity and to preserve a collective memory of who we are as a town, as a community, as a nation. Last week I mentioned to someone about this ceremony and how excited I was. And I was later approached by some of the people I was speaking to who said to me that they did not realize the extent to which and they were unaware that we have grave sites like the grave sites we have here in Connecticut. That's why it's important that we tell these stories. It's important that when we prioritize teaching narratives that we enforce a sense of identity, heritage, and patriotism, and we ensure the stories that we tell represent our complete community. I owe a profound debt of gratitude to the teachers, to the historians, to the members of the Witness Stone organization, to the Plainfield Grave Guardians Association who helped us so much here tonight, and to many community members. Thank you so many of you for coming out, by the way. I'm delighted to see faces I didn't know would be here. Thank you to all of you. Together, you're all the torchbearers who are illuminating these lost stories and ensuring that they finally take their rightful place in the narrative for our students. My hope is that the stories we honor today will be a spark that enlightens more minds and rekindles in all of us a desire to pursue a greater, deeper knowledge of the human story. We share these stories not just for our ancestors, but for our students and our community, with an understanding that Sherry's stories, like Miriam's story, will enrich all of us. Thank you, and may this ceremony be the first of many more to recover here as we come to recover more and more lost stories. I'm so proud to be here. Thank you.
Good evening. The town of Plainfield has a rich history dating back to its founding in 1699. The Witness Stones project highlights one historical aspect of our town by restoring the history and honoring the humanity of Miriam Eaton. Students have been engaged in researching primary source archival documents and creating projects that synthesize student learning connected to various themes of slavery. By learning about Miriam Eaton's enslavement and emancipations, students have had a glimpse of Plainfield's past and have been able to connect with the history of their hometown.
Thank you, Kevin Graham. My name is Chris Russo, social studies teacher at PCMS. I'm originally a transplant from New York. My wife and I moved to Connecticut about 13 years ago. We became residents of Plainfield about 9 years ago, and slowly started to learn about the history that this town has. It's actually Mr. Grant who got me interested in the old and rich history of Plainfield, from the French encampment of Rochambeau in Washington on the way to the victory at Yorktown, to the history of the half-dozen mills that we had during the late 1800s and 1900s. And now the recent unearthing of the enslaved and former enslaved population that Plainfield had. With the help of the Witness Stones, our students dug through and put together the pieces of this historical puzzle, which helps them and the town to better understand past servitude in Plainfield and Windham County, and create a deeper bond with our students, the schools, residents, and our town. Our students are currently working on a student-led and designed website, which will have Miriam's biography and student work showcased in it. So similar to the work that you see on the easels, all that will be digitized and be able to be put on the website in the near future. Our goal is to be able to place a weatherproof QR code or something similar right near Miriam's grave, so residents and visitors can learn about our storied past, the present, and the future. Going forward, Mr. Grant and I would also, and our social studies department, would love to incorporate other buried residents who have much more of a storied past, as well as the hundreds that are here, and former enslaved residents into student-led inquiry projects each year and uncover our buried past as our town to shed light on the townspeople who came before us. Thank you.
So now we'll have some students come up and talk about their work. Girls, why don't you come on up? You both can come and stand together. I know there's security and partners. So introduce yourself, say what grade you're in, even though, I'll let you tell your story.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Pimentel. I'm in 8th grade and I'm an Orange team. Hello, my name is Miriam Pimentel and I'm currently a freshman at PHS. My thoughts on slavery in Connecticut was complex and troubling. While Connecticut was one of the first states to pass gradual laws in the late 18th century, slavery persisted there until the end of the Civil War. When I knew about it beforehand, I knew slavery in Connecticut, like in many other parts of the United States, had a big history. Slaves were brought to Rhode Island primarily for labor in industries such as agriculture, shipping, and manufacturing. Rhode Island was heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade and had a significant demand for laborers in various sectors. Connecticut, like many other colonies and states in the U.S., also utilized slaves for labor in agriculture, household work, and various industries. Slavery was unfortunately deeply ingrained in the economic and social structures of many colonies, including Rhode Island and Connecticut. Several places in Connecticut had significant amounts of slavery due to colonial and early American periods. Cities like New London, New Haven, Hartford, and Fairfield had a substantial slave population. During the late 18th century, Plainfield had a total of 58 slaves. Additionally, agriculture areas in the Connecticut River Valley, as well as coastal towns engaged in maritime trade, often had a large amount of enslaved residents working in various capacities. I now have a poem written by Solomon Hardy called In Charge of the World, focused on Miriam. If I were in charge of the world, I would free all slaves. I would make everyone, black and white, equal. I would make sure no one had to earn their freedom ever again. If I were in charge of the world, there would be no barrier between rights for different races. There would be no security concern between different races. There would be no selling of people as objects if I were in charge of the world. You wouldn't be allowed to hurt other adults and children. You wouldn't be allowed to sell other races or treat them poorly. You wouldn't have to hide away from other races, scared to get caught, if I was only in charge of the world. What I learned. Miriam Eaton was born in 1769 and later died at the age of 86 in 1855. Miriam was enslaved as a child and she worked for the Eaton family. Miriam had a pretty difficult life around her family because her siblings were a lot older than her. George Washington stayed at the Eaton Tavern for a couple of nights, which Miriam got to eat where she got to meet him because that was where she worked at. Miriam was freed at the age of 18, but in the Bill of Emancipation was signed when she was 41. If the bill was never passed, she might have never been freed. Why learning about Miriam Eaton is important for Plainfield and why honoring her is important. Learning about Miriam is important for Plainfield because she used to be a slave who was from Plainfield, which back then there wasn't that many slaves here. Honoring her is important because this means a lot as a Plainfield resident, knowing that a freed slave is representing our town.
Good photo op if you want to.
The stone is engraved with Miriam Eaton, 1769 to 1855, enslaved in Plainfield, emancipated twice, died age 86, leaving a legacy.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like freedom is here. Sometimes I feel like freedom is near. Sometimes I feel like freedom is here, but we're so far from home. But we're so far from home. Sometimes I feel like it's closer now. Sometimes I feel like the kingdom is now. Sometimes I feel like the kingdom is now. And we're so far from home. But we're so far from home.
One more time for Bill and Melissa Rood, please. That was excellent. I know we're all thinking it. I'm just going to bring it to our attention that there was quite a change of the wind when we laid the stone. Make of that what you will, but I find that rather interesting on a lot of levels. We're all here to witness it. I'd like to thank you for attending our ceremony, honoring Plainfield resident Miriam Eaton. We'd like to thank our musicians again, Bill and Melissa Rood. And a couple things. The Plainfield Grave Guardians are offering guided site tours from historians and stone carvers in the lower area for the rest of the evening. PCMS, my school, and the Grave Guardians also have some refreshments down below, and you're welcome to join us. Again, thank you for coming and sharing in this experience. It was excellent. Thank you very much.